Welcome back to another edition of Literary Diss Tracks. Today we have James Patterson, author of your dad's favorite books, versus Stephen King, author of The Stand, The Shining, Carrie, among many, many others. So in 2007, Stephen King receives a Lifetime Achievement Award from the Canadian Booksellers Association, and afterwards he tells reporters concerning James Patterson, quote, "I don't like him. I don't respect his books because everyone is the same." In that same year, James Patterson is writing a review of the film 1408, which is based off of a short story written by Stephen King. James Patterson writes, quote, "Recently, Stephen King commented that he doesn't have any respect for me. Doesn't make too much sense. I'm a good dad, a nice husband. My only crime is I've sold millions of books. As far as 1408 goes, what can I say? I liked it. The first third is especially fine. I'm a John Cusack fan and, in terms of the book anyway, a Stephen King fan too." That meager olive branch wasn't really enough to make peace with Stephen King, because in 2009, in an interview, Stephen King would describe James Patterson as, quote, "a terrible writer." That insult seems to stick with James Patterson, because in 2016 he announces plans to publish a novella entitled The Murder of Stephen King, one that would later have to be withdrawn after King's representatives and lawyers took issue. When asked about this, Patterson said, quote, "I know I'm not a terrible writer. That's a little over the top." And he also added that if Stephen King were to write a book called The Murder of James Patterson, he would definitely want to read it. In that same interview, when asked about his feud with Stephen King, James Patterson said, quote, "He's taken shots at me for years. It's fine, but my approach is to do the opposite with him. To heap praise. This feud goes on. For instance, when Stephen King caught wind that James Patterson had blurbed his own book, Stephen King took the opportunity to make some fun of that. Now, James Patterson has been very strategic in making this feud about his own popularity, but if I were to speculate, I would guess that Stephen King's issue with James Patterson is less a matter of the formulaic nature of his writing and more so that James Patterson is known to employ ghostwriters to either help write or write entirely his books with his name on it. And for someone like Stephen King, who also writes a lot of books, but he writes them himself, he might take issue with that. So let me know who you got on this one, James Patterson or Stephen King.